Welcome to Covered, the insurance law podcast for corporate policyholders. I'm Vince Morgan.
And I'm Claire Cahoon. So, Vince, today I thought we'd start out by giving our listeners a little, overview, bird's eye view of what you've been up to since you've been at Bracewell. Because it's only been, how many months since you started now?
Coming up on a year. And like most lawyers, I'm allergic to math, as our listeners know. Yep. But that sounds like about 10 months to me.
That was a repeat joke. I warned everybody how great they were. And that did, that really did it. That takes the cake. That's a great
Claire, just so you know, I only recycle the good jokes. And by, I mean, the good ones, I mean all of them. Because we don't have any bad jokes here at Covered, right?
No, I haven't heard one bad joke yet.
Yeah. Well, don't you worry. Now, just so our listeners know, we will eventually have the episode where we have the blooper reel, which will, it's going to, I mean, the entertainment value there will just be sky high. They will learn nothing useful about the law of insurance or how to maximize claims or how to expedite a recovery or how to do anything related to insurance law. But boy, is it going to be a lot of fun to listen to.
I think we're making a lot of assumptions about how our listeners feel about us, Vince. What if they don't like us? What if they don't think we're funny at all? What if they fast forward through these first couple minutes every time and then it's fine. Gosh. You know what? I don't care. Yeah. I will listen to the blooper episode. And I think that all of our colleagues will listen to the blooper episode for no reason other than to hold it against us for the rest of our careers.
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like we need to get you some self-help books, some positive affirmation, because I am confident that at least, at least 90% of our listeners will be delighted by our witty banter here. Yeah, and by 90%, I mean some, but I don't know. I mean, I think that they'll enjoy it. At least I hope so. And you're right. If they don't like it, they have two choices. They can either fast forward or they can listen to somebody else's boring podcast. But I'm willing to bet that, they'll come here for the insurance law and they'll stay for the humor. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that pep talk. I really needed it. And I'm feeling a lot more supported by our audience in theory right now.
That's great.
Okay, so 10 months. Yeah. What have you managed to accomplish in 10 months?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So, we're going to have a letter out to our clients and friends here that's coming on the 1-year anniversary since we launched our coverage practice here at Bracewell. Yeah, it's going to be great. Cute. And it's going to talk about, some of the things we've done. And so just to give you kind of a preview of coming attractions, we have, we've won cases on large property losses. We have helped clients do catastrophe modeling for insurance renewals. We have helped clients, work through things like how to deal with the duty to defend and, the issues on who gets to control the defense. We've helped clients respond to cyber incidents. And deal with cyber coverage. We've dealt with environmental coverage. We've dealt with, sort of pretty typical GL and other professional liability lines. It's really been just been fantastic here. And of course, since we've been here, we've been responding to incidents like the winter storm in Texas. We've got hurricane season coming up right around the corner, and some of the other sort of events that just that make the news. There's an insurance component in there somewhere. Yeah. And so a lot of times, our clients will call us about things that, you might see news items on. But instead of just being sort of interesting, is they're living and breathing these things and they need help. Right. And we're here to help them.
Yeah. And something that I think is really cool, too, about the work that you've been doing is I've noticed that it pulls in a lot of other practices pretty regularly. Like I feel like you're always working with different partners that, as an associate, if you're just kind of doing general trial work, you might not get to work with people from all across the firm. So can tell our audience a little bit about the different groups you've pulled in, different kinds of people that you've gotten to work with here.
Yeah, this is the single best way to get to know the rest of an organization is to be, and this is true for our clients too. I mean, the risk management folks that we deal with, lawyers who deal with the insurance issues, it is one of the most effective ways to get to know the rest of the people in any organization, just because it touches every part of an organization, right? Totally. It's everything from how they run their business to any liability issues that they face to, and it's everything from production to manufacturing to sales to, we're helping a client right now that got sued for disparaging another company in the process of some of its marketing activities, which, may well be a covered claim. So it's just a whole host of issues that come up that touch sort of every corner of a company's business. And because of that, since we're a full service law firm, we tend to get involved in all kinds of issues as well. So it's really, that part is kind of fun. The jokes are nice too, but the interesting work is, that's a pretty neat part of our job as well.
It is. And I feel like, at least from my understanding, you felt like everyone's been a really good team player. And I feel like I've gotten to learn a lot about a bunch of other random industries that I would have literally no reason to learn anything about. I know you particularly enjoyed that multicolored drawing of a wellhead that I did recently.
Yes, Jim.
Yeah, I might get it framed for you if you want. You. I mean, if you want, I know they just repainted your walls. It might look nice right on that wall above your bookshelf, I'm thinking.
I think that's great. And if you ever get tired of the covered logo that we have here, which is super clever, by the way, I mean, our team did a fantastic job on that. If we ever get tired, we could use your wellhead design where you have an artistic rendering of an oil well that went sideways, literally and figuratively. And so we're helping our client recover for that under their control of well policy. And it's that's an example of just, one of the kinds of coverages that we deal with. But, going back to your other point, I just want to circle back on something. This is a true story. And I don't know if I share this with you or not, Claire, because we've only been working together for, not that long. And I hope there are many, many days to come. But when I first got here at Bracewell, we're like lots of large law firms. We think we're, pretty good at what we do, and we're full service. We do all kinds of work from transactions to litigation to regulatory issues. And of course, with what's neat about us as opposed to most of the large law firms is we only represent corporate policyholders. Most of the other large law firms that we consider to be, firms like us, most of them represent insurance companies. So it's really neat that they can't do the work that we can do. It's one way that we can help our clients that lots of, other very fine law firms can't. And so that's neat. But when I got here, one of the reasons I came to Bracewell was that no conflict issues. And one of the other reasons I came was they just have the best people. And And when I got here, I asked one of the lawyers I started working with pretty regularly, and I said, "Hey, could you? I'm kind of new here. Could you do me a favor?" And he said, "Sure, Vince. What do you need?" And I said, "Well, if you could just tell me who the jerks are, that would help me, just so I know, avoid them if I can. At least I know what I'm getting if I can't." And he says, "Oh, we don't really have any of those here." And I swear to God, it's a true story. And I said, "Oh, really? Okay." And then I walked away from that conversation, and I thought,
like, he's a liar.
Well, no, not a liar. I just obviously asked the wrong person, right? And it's
nice.
It's like when you're at a store trying to find something, right? You ask somebody and they can't tell you. You're like, "Oh, it's fine. I'll just go ask somebody else," right? And so that's what I did. So I went and I found somebody else, and this person was happy to candidly assess, other lawyers in various different ways. I thought, okay, I have found my person. So I asked him. I said, "Hey, if you could just do me a favor here and tell me who the jerks are, I'd appreciate it." And he says, "We don't have any of those here. That's just, kind of not tolerated." And I thought, my God, this is a law firm with more than one lawyer. I mean, I know some solo practitioners that have, problems with attitudes, but to have, a lawyer with, 2 lawyers or more, law firm is amazing, and it's extraordinary. And in my 10 months here, I've really, that's been borne out every single day. And I hope that's your experience as well. It really is nice. And when, our clients, they hear from law firms all the time about how smart they are and how this, they do this amazing work and look at these results we got and all this kind of thing. And we're smart too, and we do amazing work and we get great results, all of those things too. But for us, it's a people thing. And I was telling this to a client, and I said, I'm sure you hear all these pitches every day. And she says, "Yes, I do that." And I said, "Okay, well, do they talk about how awesome the people are?" She said, "No, actually, they don't talk about that." And I said, "Well, that's what I'm talking to you about." And I think she was like blown away. So that's been really great over the last few months.
I really hate to burst your bubble because I do feel like I agree with you 100%. And I personally do not feel the feeling that I'm about to describe to you, but I'm just wondering if you've considered whether the fact that people said that there aren't any jerks in the firm to you means that you're the jerk.
Oh, I totally wondered that. It's a fair question. I wondered,
no, I don't think
did
you
they feel like they didn't have any, so they wanted to go out and hire one?
That's right.
Is that how I got here?
That was the role they needed filling, yeah.
I completely wondered.
We need a insurance recovery lawyer who's a bully.
Yeah, for every lawyer that's been hired, around the time I was and afterwards, I asked myself, is this the jerk? Including me. And you're on that list too, Claire. I mean, TBD, right?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, no. So I wondered, and thought did occur to me, but I'm going with they really do actually try to hire people that are not only good at what they do, but they're great to work with too. And and I view that as not only what our folks should view as something they're entitled to, but also something they're obligated to do as well, right? I mean, it's something they should expect from others and something they owe to others. You should be able to come to work and enjoy the people you're working with.
Yeah, right. And well, I mean, especially in a practice like insurance recovery where, you're regularly speaking to a bunch of different folks and on a bunch of different issues and in a bunch of different roles, right? And so if you're a jerk and you're talking to someone who's a broker and you need them on this case, the case is not going to go super well for you if you're mean to them. So
that's right.
It's a good way to establish contacts both with clients and also just kind of across the board. And I'm glad that you found that that's true here. I think it's true here in my experience as well. And,
well, that's great. And since we're on the same floor, I'm delighted to hear that. And I got to say, it's not just the lawyers, right? Our whole team is just a bunch of super people, including the Covered recording team.
Yes.
Who, they show up day in, day out, right? And they take what is a bunch of garbage in the form of our dithering, and they turn it into something magical, right? They have an electronic magic wand. And I don't know if they buy this at Disney or what, but they
it's just magical, certainly.
Yes, they turn garbage into magic, and that's really great.
I agree.
And they do it with such a plum too, right? Because occasionally, Claire, you get busy and you have to reschedule things.
Oh, me?
And I think it frustrates them to no end, really.
Yeah, that's on me. You're right.
I was trying to finish that. No, but they are just super. So thank you to the rest of our team here. And again, it's really nice to have great people to work with. Absolutely.
Well, a second ago, I mentioned that as an insurance recovery lawyer, that you're regularly having to speak to non-lawyer folks in assisting our clients. And one of those folks is our guest today. Our guest today is Jeff Higgins. He is a VP and claims advocate team lead at Alliant.
Yeah, Jeff is really great. When we get hired to help clients work through an issue on a claim or something, navigate the claim process, one of the questions that we always ask clients at the outset is, who's your broker, right? And some brokers have, some view it as just, they buy and sell the policy, really sell the policies, and that's kind of the end of the job. And I on some level, I understand that. But what I really love to see are the brokers that have a specific dedicated claims practice. And it's just so helpful to work through minor issues. One of the things, Claire, I think you've probably seen one of our presentations where we talk about an insured that was a phone company that we worked with after a large storm and a hurricane, and their policy had an exclusion for the loss of phone data or video, and that's their entire business.
Yeah.
And we went and talked to the broker there, and they said, we'll interface with the carrier on that issue, and we'll take care of that. And and the carrier came back and said, don't worry about that. Let's focus on your claim. And partly that was because it was a really great customer for this insurance company. Partly because it was a relatively small claim. There was a lot of reasons, but one of the things that really helped was having that broker advocate, claim advocate there. And so Jeff is one of those guys, and he's really great. I mean, he has a very keen understanding of these issues and, kind of gets in there and tries to figure out, all right, what can I do as a broker advocate, claim advocate to help? And then where is the line between when, that ceased to be effective and it's time to get lawyers involved and, sort of having a great sense for that. So, we're delighted to have Jeff come and talk to us today and hopefully share some of his thoughts that will be helpful to our listeners. Hey, let's get started. Let's have our interview with Jeff. Here we go. Okay. All right. Well, hey, listen, Jeff Higgins, our guest today. We're really excited to have you here, Jeff. We try and get great guests and all of our friends in the risk management community, and we want to have a bunch of different voices here who can share their unique experiences and viewpoints and kind of what works, what doesn't, and how they approach these issues that we all kind of confront on a regular basis. And so, Jeff, we're really excited to have you as a claims advocate here for one of our leading broker firms, and so we're just want to talk with you about some of the ways that you work through the issues that we deal with and our audience confronts on a daily basis. So, Jeff, with that. Let's get started. First, welcome. And second, our folks always love to hear about career paths, right? I mean, because everybody's sort of interested. How did you get into what you're doing? Or how did you get your current role? And as people, think about how they want their career to go, it's always helpful to hear kind of how others have done, or ended up where they're at. So if you could briefly share with us kind of your thoughts on career evolution, how you got into insurance and how you sort of evolved to the role that you have today, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Vince. Really happy to be here. So unlike many motivated young people nowadays who study risk management in college, I never really aspired to work in the industry. I arrived in Houston in 1982, thinking it was boomtown, but they were dimming the lights. And really, the only companies that were interested in hiring a recent college grad with an underwhelming GPA were insurance companies.
Well, I mean, it's great that they have a target hire there, right?
So I worked for two insurers for about a 5-year period, and that was really hard. I was kind of learning on the fly, but that job just in general is really challenging. And I've always tried to keep that in center of mind in dealing with insurance adjusters throughout my career. So after 5 years of being a staff adjuster, I was fortunate to hire on with a corporate law department in Houston. I worked there for 12 years. I spent 6 years managing asbestos litigation, 6 years managing product liability claims. And that was really helped to focus my career. I was in a very demanding position in terms of working with really smart people who really forced me to kind of elevate my game. And I think that really set me on a course to really dig into insurance and really enjoy it. So from the corporate law department being an insured client, I went over to the broker side and have been there for 20 years, primarily oil and gas, working with auto liability, general liability, and pollution matters, helping our clients deal with insurers and to get the best result they can on their claims.
Well, that's great, Jeff. Thank you for sharing that. And it's amazing, sort of how important the foundational years of your career are and sort of teaching you, how to go about these things. I remember I learned how to read a policy before I went to law school, and I still use that same process today, right? And there's only one way I know to read a policy. And of course, that's rule number 1 in our business. And rule number 2 is read the policy again. So it's great that you had, really solid leadership and guidance early in your career. That's awesome. So could you share a few thoughts with us about how you go about working through some of these issues? I mean, I agree with you. I think that most adjusters really are doing their level best to try to manage a really challenging workload, and really they have a lot of demands and pressures and this kind of stuff. And then again, I'm with you. I think most of them are doing their level best. Every now and then we run into ones that aren't. But I kind of start with the view that they're trying to do what they can, and our job is to try to help them understand the claims that we're bringing to them, right, so that we can get our clients' claims resolved as quickly and painlessly as possible, right? Because our clients, they want to make sure that we bring whatever resources we need to bear on their issues, but they're really not in the business of being in the insurance claim business, right? They have their own business that they prefer to spend their time on, and so we try to help adjusters, along the way as we can to sort of speed up the claim process. Can you tell us, a little bit about how you go about working through some of these issues?
It can be hard to really get a solid block of uninterrupted time. And I'm an avid runner, and sometimes I do my best thinking when I'm out there, early in the morning on my own. I can't analyze an indemnity obligation in a contract on the run, but I can certainly think outside the box, and really I have a lot of my aha moments when I've just got that quiet time to myself, and that's been really helpful over the years.
Yeah, I agree with that. I every now and then I knock the dust off my bike, and I'm supposed to be a cyclist. And what I have found is if you read an email or something that, came in last night, you get up in the morning, you're, ready to go out, go for a run, go for a, bike ride, whatever. Sometimes just walk. Whatever it is that sort of you do as part of your routine, I find that, if I am just thinking about an email that I got, late in the day yesterday or, was there in my inbox when I woke up this morning, whatever, and you just take a minute and think, all right, let me just think about, what needs to happen in response to that email. And while you're out, doing, going for a run or a bike ride, whatever, it's a really great way to sort of think through these things. So I totally share you there. How about interacting with clients? I know that you tend to work, you are, a senior claims advocate at Alliant, right? And you focus on liability claims and mostly in the energy sector, right? We've talked about all kinds of things over the years since we've known each other. But I'm curious, I'm guessing that most of the time you spend working with risk managers. And because you deal more with liability claims, I also guess that you spend a fair amount of time talking to in-house counsel. Am I right about both of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So many of our clients don't have a risk manager per se. We have someone who is, they're working on insurance, but they might also be working on HR or safety.
Yeah, we have some of those clients too.
Yeah, and so that really allows me to kind of step in and be like an outsourced advocate for them. And so it varies too. It's across the board. Sometimes we have a client who's been in the position in the business for a long time, and they're very savvy on insurance. Other times, especially with the layoffs we've had in the oil and gas industry, you've got someone who got thrust into an additional role. And so we're really trying to help them understand what the factors are, what's involved in a claim, and there's quite a bit of education involved to get them up to level speed. And so that I enjoy having a chance to do that, and it's great to see them kind of grasp it and kind of run with it.
Yeah, and that's our sense too. And I suspect, one of the things that we do when we get asked about a claim, right, is, all right, let's, focus on first things first, right? Do we, let's give notice. Let's start to, sort of analyze. Maybe it's like an 8 corners rule if it's a liability claim, or, how many occurrences, or, whatever it is that we're looking at. And one of the things on our list is we talk to our clients who contact us directly is, okay, have you reached out to the broker, and we talk to them, and, do we need to get their claims team, sort of on board here? And because usually, I suspect this is true for you, their first phone call is to sort of their main account manager, right?
Right.
And then from there, the phone calls kind of go out through the, different channels. But I'm a little curious how often you work with outside counsel on these issues. Is it sort of an everyday thing? Is it now and then kind of thing? So I'm curious how frequently you find yourself talking to outside counsel about how to work through these issues.
Yeah, and that varies quite a bit too. Part of it has to do with the insured. Whether they prefer to have me involved. I certainly want to be involved so I can, chip in on from an insurance standpoint. So yeah, no, that can be a critical part of my job, is helping to kind of bridge between outside counsel and the insurer and the insured.
Now, do you find that the outside lawyers you work with, do they tend to be coverage lawyers like we are, or are they sort of like general litigators or other kinds of lawyers?
Fortunately, they're typically not coverage lawyers.
I totally understand that, and it's kind of a mixed bag, I suspect, in some cases. But our approach, right, is that the last thing that we want to do is fire off demand letters and file lawsuits if we don't have to, right? I mean, there are lawyers who think, well, the only way that they're going to pay attention to us if we sue them, right? And our approach is, let's try the other things first. And if they don't work, we can always sue them tomorrow, right? I mean, they build courthouses for a reason, but you don't have to go there. So I'm curious, when you deal with, outside lawyers, do you run into the, ready, fire, aim folks, or do you run into the let's take this one step at a time folks? What's your normal?
Certainly, my preference is the more measured approach. I want to, deal with the insurers on a kind of a level best, a logical approach, and have discussions. Occasionally you've got the situation where you need to jump in there guns a-blazing, but the problem with that is if that first approach doesn't work, well, where are you? It's kind of hard to backtrack. So I would much rather go in, have discussions, have reasonable arguments, understand where the two sides are, and then if that fails, then we can reevaluate what the next approach is. Yep,
got it. Now, one of the coolest things about working in the field of insurance, right, whether you're an insurance lawyer like I am and our team here at Bracewell is, or whether you are a claims advocate at a broker, or whether you're a risk manager or an in-house lawyer doing one of these things, one of the neatest things is that it's never boring, right? So everybody has like crazy war stories, right? And our audience here at Covered, they love a good story. So if you have one memorable claim that that stands out in your mind, you think, let me tell you this, you won't believe it. Start with that. I mean, you won't believe it claims, those are the best. So
yeah,
if you have a story too, we'd love to hear it.
Well, as a father of 3 daughters, that's like asking me which is my favorite kid.
Sure, you love them all equally.
I love them all equally. Absolutely. But no, one that just I always kind of chuckle about. We had a client that was an operator. They had donated some downhole drill pipe to a nature conservancy in South Texas, and the conservancy was going to use the used drill pipe to build fencing and corrals for the exotic animals that they had. So further down the road, there was some bad blood between my client and the conservancy, and they ended up getting sued by the conservancy for causing one of the rhinoceroses at the nature preserve to die from cancer. And the allegation was that this pipe that was donated, which our client had taken tax deduction for, was encrusted with naturally occurring radioactive material, NORM. And so we first got that in and we were like stunned. And then I looked at the policy, and of course it had a radioactive exclusion. So that was unfortunate.
Right.
But it had a happier ending because the plaintiffs had disposed of the rhinoceroses without doing any autopsy. So they essentially had spoliated their claim. And we were able to walk away from that one.
That is an amazing story. The cancer-stricken rhinoceros. That's a good one. Right now, you are in the lead for our guests on Covered for sort of best story. We're going to have an annual competition, and at the end of the year, we're going to pick our best. Claire's going to have to listen to hours and hours of this stuff again to find what she thinks is the best story. But right now, for my vote, Jeff Higgins, you are in the driver's seat.
Right.
I don't know what you're going to get maybe we'll make like we have a very clever logo here. Maybe we'll turn that into a little plaque or something.
Nice.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel for sure you've got a top 3 finish at this point. So we'll see. Okay. So I'm just curious. Some lawyers I was working with had a claim once where they tried to settle it and couldn't quite close the last gap. And so a challenge was thrown down that this should be resolved at a card table over a game of poker. That basically they got 95% of the way, and they decided that, the 5% should be decided by the fate of cards. I'm curious, have you ever challenged, an adjuster to a 5K, let's go run a race and see who gets the best time, or any other creative ways to resolve, the last little bit of a claim?
That's a great question. I haven't, but I'll have to think about that. I'm probably the only guy in my office, maybe the only guy in the industry, who doesn't golf or hunt or fish. So being a runner doesn't really, kind of give you a lot of opportunity to bring it into the business. Although one time I did have a client marathon, and we ran the Pikes Peak Marathon from 6,000 feet up to 14,000, and then back down. And unlike client golf, after working that hard, I wasn't going to let the client beat me. So that was that.
Well, I don't hunt or golf or fish either, so it could be that's why we've always gotten along so well. I don't know. Maybe there's a secret commonality there. But no, that's a pretty good story. Well, racing clients, I think that's a good one too. Do you find that when you do work with outside law firms, is it the same firms, or do you find yourself working with, the firms that try to play conflict bingo of, well, we represent insurance companies, but we don't represent that insurance company? I mean, I'm curious, when you do work with outside law firms, is it the, one of the very few like us that just represent policyholders, or do you find yourself working with, whoever their regular outside counsel is? If you have a thought on that, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So most of the outside counsel that we're working with are panel counsel selected by insurers. And so
not going to be much help on coverage issues there, are they?
Not going to be on coverage. So in terms of working with coverage counsel, we see quite a variety, and we like to work with firms that have shown success to our clients in the past. And a lot of times that's not necessarily the firm that does their commercial work or does their day-to-day work. So I'm looking for someone who wants to align their interest with our clients and do it in an economical and efficient fashion.
Okay, well, that's helpful and good to know. I'm always interested in perspectives on that, and just because I'm curious again. It's really a very small number of larger firms that represent the policyholder side of things, and then you've got sort of some boutiques and things like that. So I was curious about what you typically see, but thank you for that. All right. Well, Jeff Higgins, is there anything that is happening at Alliant that you think, let me chat about this briefly, that you think our audience ought to know about, of, how to claim issues you're running into, whether it's, winter storm or, we've got, some uptick in, we're seeing like some, flood claims being made against our clients, and we're getting coverage for those kinds of things. Is there anything that you're seeing that's a trend that you think our audience might want to keep an eye on? You probably see a lot of things maybe sooner than the rest of the industry because of your bird's eye view. Yeah,
we're getting hammered with Winter Storm Uri claims now, where our clients are being sued for failure to provide energy. So there are 2 suits in Harris County, several hundred defendants, and so that's just the latest flavor.
Yes, we are representing several of those companies as defendants in the underlying case, and then, of course, we're helping on insurance issues as well.
And then, the latest, of course, is the Colonial, the pipeline with the cyber attack, and that's just crazy and very, very scary to a lot of our midstream clients. So that's certainly certainly grabs people's attention.
Yep. No, those are two hot button issues, and we're working on those same things too. So I feel like I almost, I've always thought like an offensive coordinator in football and a defensive coordinator, like if they're really great at it, they could switch jobs. I almost wonder like if we could switch dockets with you, it would be the same docket, right? And
right.
You can change the names, but the issues and the facts and all that stuff would be just about the same, I suspect. So anytime you want to take a vacation from yours, come on over, and maybe we can horse trade. And I suspect
sounds like a busman's holiday.
No difference. Anyway, all right. Well, listen, Jeff Higgins, thank you for taking the time to visit us. You've come up with, again, a podcast leading story on the cancer-stricken rhinoceros. We're going to, I can just imagine what Claire is going to do here for the title for this episode. The rhinoceros that needed chemo. I mean, you shouldn't joke about it. It's horrible, but it's a great story. So thank you for that. And I hope that one day you will come and be a guest on Covered once again, because you've been a wonderful guest. We've enjoyed visiting with you, and I hope it hasn't been terribly painful for you. If you haven't already mashed all your fingers on the door, you can go ahead and do that now. But we'd be delighted if you'd come back sometime and share some more thoughts with us.
Great. Thank you for having me.